Hey, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. This is a segment where I'm going to be talking about common paddling injuries, ways that, what might be causing those injuries, ways that you might be able to address those injuries in your technique, and also things that you can do to help with recovering from said injuries. So, good, we got some people signing on. So, yeah, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. This is going to be a really great topic. I love talking about anything basically related to paddling, but especially the human body, body mechanics, and technique because I'm such a technique geek or nerd, all the little details about what our body's doing and how we're holding our body and how we're engaging our muscles and how that's all working together to support optimally functioning and paddling at our highest potential, right? So I want to talk about today. I get a lot of questions about injuries, so I kind of made a list of just the most common injuries that paddlers experience, and that mostly, ones that I have experienced as well, and ways that you can address those again in your technique, ways that you can address that in your on your board and off your board, what mobility exercises maybe can you do, and also what strengthening exercises could you do to help alleviate some of those pains, or if you are injured, what are some of the things that you can do that would be helpful, and what are some of the things you could do that might be not as helpful, right? So go ahead, since this is a live discussion, I would love you to be active and I would love you to participate. If you have questions about specific injuries that you're dealing with, about technique, about, anything, just go ahead and put it in the comments box. And I don't always see them for some reason, but please do write them, because if I don't see it during the live session, I will go back after and I will answer them afterwards for sure in the comments. But do ask them now, because I might be able to answer them now. And I would also like to say that I am not a sports medicine doctor. I cannot diagnose, prescribe, or treat any sort of injury. If you are in a lot of pain, I would seek professional advice. But if you're just looking for advice and if you're just looking for tips, techniques, things you can do in your technique, things you can do physically to help you feel, perform at your best, that is definitely what I'm here for this evening. Okay, so that's my little disclaimer. And let's just jump right in. I took some notes. The most common injuries that I get questions about are, okay, yeah, lower back. I definitely have that one on there. Lower back is on my list. So the most common injuries, let's talk about those. Elbows. Get lots of questions about elbows. We're going to talk about elbows. We're going to talk about shoulders a little bit. We'll talk about the spine. We'll talk about the upper spine, the upper back, the neck and the shoulder, or, upper back, neck, and traps. We'll talk about the lower back as well, and as well as the feet. Okay, so those are the 5 categories that I want to touch on today. And if you have something specific that's not one of those things, go ahead and put it down. And if I know something, I will help you. And if I don't, well, then I'll look it up, because I love learning more about these things too. So let's jump right in with the elbows. And I get a lot of questions about, trying to back up so that you can see, okay, my elbow. All right, so elbow pain, epicondylitis, is a form of tendinitis in the elbow tendons. So you have medial epicondylitis, which would be on the top or the outside. Maybe you're feeling pain on the top of the elbow, on the outside of the elbow, right in the joint here, or going down these outside forearm muscles. And then there's lateral epicondylitis, which is I'm sorry, I had it wrong. Lateral's on the outside. That's what they call tennis elbow, and medial is on the inside here. If you feel pain on the inside, that's what they call golfer's elbow, right? So I've experienced both, and and at one point I was experiencing where it just kept going back and forth, right? Because our bodies our bodies are masters of compensation, right? If we tell our body to do something, it's going to get the job done, but it's not necessarily going to do it in the correct way or in the most functional way. But so if you tell your body to pull and the muscle that it's supposed to pull with for some reason doesn't activate, engage, or do its job properly, which happens all the time. Our muscles get really fatigued and then they get lazy and then they shut off and then and so sometimes we just develop things out of balance where we're using muscles that were maybe supposed to be an accessory muscle to that exercise, but because we ended up building that up, we kind of trained our body to use a muscle that was supposed to be an accessory muscle to the main muscle, and that main muscle, when it's not doing its job, then those accessory muscles, they get strained. And that's how we start to develop repetitive stress injuries. Mostly what I'm going to be talking about tonight are repetitive stress injuries. Not tonight, today, this morning, wherever you are. For some of you, it's night. Repetitive stress injuries, right? So when we have undue strain repeated over and over again on a specific muscle area of the body, develops a repetitive stress injury. And since we are endurance athletes and paddling it fits the bill for repetitive stress injuries, very much so, because if you think about it, when you're paddling, if we take a stroke every 1.5 seconds, if you're a 45-second stroke rate, if you paddle for an hour, you're going to take something, I think, like 3,000 strokes, right? So that's quite a bit of repetition. So if your body, if those muscles that are supposed to be the main muscles that are supposed to be doing the job are not quite functioning the way they're supposed to because they're fatigued or because you haven't trained your body to activate and engage using the right muscles, it's going to put, again, undue strain on smaller accessory muscles, on tendons, on joints, right, when those areas get over tight. And that's when we start to experience repetitive stress injuries. So back to elbows, lateral on the outside, tennis elbow, medial on the inside, golfer's elbow. Paddlers experience both of them, actually. And that's typically caused by, it can be caused by different things, right? The thing about the human body is, fortunately, unfortunately, it is so complex, and there's no exact do it this way, don't do it that way, and there's no exact you got injured. I mean, sometimes there is an exact you got injured this way or that way. It's pretty obvious, especially with traumatic injuries. But with repetitive stress injuries, it's not always obvious, and that's why they can be really challenging. It's not always obvious how exactly that occurred, what exactly is the muscle imbalance or the performance imbalance or the body mechanic issue that you need to address to fix this. And so it takes a bit of research on your part. It takes a bit of diving in on your part. And I'm going to give you what tips I can. Hopefully I remember all of the ones that I want to give you today. If not, I'll have to put more in the comments. I'm going to give you what tips I can, and I'm going to give you some good starting points of where you can kind of dive in and start to explore some of these things that could help you in your technique. But by no means what I will say today is going to be exhaustive. And again, you're going to have to do the research and figure out for your body what is going on. And so one of the things that can happen with elbow pain is it can be, so the forearm, so usually you're experiencing elbow pain because the forearm muscles have gotten tightened or shortened, and so they're putting strain because they're pulling on the elbow, so there's constant pulling because they're chronically tightened, right? So that can be on the outside, that can be on the inside. That's just one of the things that can be happening. And so the reason that can happen is because maybe there's something going on with your grip. It can be that you have too tight of a grip. It can be that when you're gripping, these muscles on the inside can get really shortened, and then these ones on the outside can get kind of lengthened. And so what happens when we grip too heavily or too strong for extended periods of time, so again, these muscles will get overworked, and these ones might not get worked as much. So one of the things that you can do to help alleviate that would be to relax, massage, use some muscle rubs. I'll show you the one I use on the inside of the forearm here, and then do some activations for the outside. So that would be, you've probably seen those bands where they go, where they're opening the hand up this way. So it's basically the reverse. So if I was gripping, I'd be making a fist. And if I open my fist up, I'm using and I'm activating these muscles. So if I put some sort of resistance, like a rubber band, around my fingers and I open them up, I'm going to be activating these muscles. And that's going to help to balance out the relationship between these ones and these ones. So that's if you're over gripping. If you are also in your grip, you want to make sure that you are, and this is where I say something that's probably different than some other people, but you want to be using around your paddle shaft, you want to be using all of your fingers. You don't want to be gripping really tight, but you do want to have all 4 fingers around the paddle shaft, because we have anatomy chains that run through the body, that run, that run from the fingertips, and they run down the body. And I made a post about this. And so one of the things that the pinky finger especially is in an anatomy chain with these muscles underneath the arm, going down the lat, and then going down across the back to your opposite glute. And those are really important muscles for paddling, especially your lats and especially your whole, your whole posterior chain. So if you grip the paddle and you don't use your pinky finger, you might not have as much, sometimes you can have issues with getting those lats to fire, and I'm going to talk about getting those lats to fire in a minute here. So not a tight grip. One of the things that can be happening is you're over gripping, and then the other thing that can be happening is you're under gripping, right? So you have to figure out for yourself when you're paddling, am I under gripping, am I over gripping? Does changing my grip affect how my elbow feels, right? And then another thing that can be happening is, so when we pull, we want to be pulling with our lats. Any type of pull. I'm not talking about paddling pull. I'm talking about just any pulling in general. When the body pulls, one of the main muscles that needs to fire is our lats. And the lats, they get pretty lazy because they do a lot of work. And so I've found oftentimes that, people, we might think we're engaging our lat, but the lat might not be working as effectively as you think it is. For me, mine shut off like almost completely, and that was part of the reason why I had problems with my neck. And so then when the lat doesn't fire, we tend to take, so our joints take more of the load of the pull. When the muscles aren't engaged properly, our joints take more load. And the elbow joint, because it's in between the wrist and the shoulder, kind of gets it's like the middle child of the arm. I'm a middle child, so if you're not a middle child, that doesn't really probably make sense, that analogy. But right, the elbow joint can take a lot of the undue strain when the muscles aren't engaging properly. So one of the things you want to do when you're paddling is making sure that your lats are firing, and that your lats are the driving force of the downward pressure exerted on your paddle. I'm talking more about that as well. So how can I make sure, and how can I test right now, sitting in front of your computer, your phone, wherever you are, how can I feel if my lats are firing? And we'll probably do this again, but if I put my hand on the table and I push down, and I have a totally straight arm, and I push down, maybe I feel my lats, but maybe I feel my trap or my shoulder or, my tricep. Just go ahead and see where you feel. But then if you go ahead and take a slight bend to the elbow and pull that elbow down. So you have about this bend in your elbow, and the elbow, instead of having this straight arm, you take a slight bend and then you pull that elbow down. And you should even feel just right now, you should even feel this muscle engage right here when you pull that elbow down. You should feel that lat engage. And so pull that elbow down with that slight bend in your arm, and then push down on that same tabletop. And hopefully you feel the back of the body lighting up more so than anything around the shoulder happening. And so that's a really good test to kind of feel off the water. How is that happening? And if you're somebody you're like, oh, that's not what I feel when I'm paddling right there. You know, what I feel when I'm paddling is more up here or here, wherever you feel that. We'll talk about this is getting into the shoulders as well. But if that's not what you feel when you're paddling, you know that you're somebody who needs to work a little bit more on engaging your lats. And how do we do that when we are paddling? Is, again, instead of having a straight arm, you're going to have a slight bend. So instead of having a straight arm, you're going to have a slight bend to the elbow, and those elbows are going to be drawing down. So this arm position here is going to be the preferred arm position when you're paddling, rather than having a straight arm, a totally straight arm when you're paddling. I'm talking about your top arm. I'm talking about your top arm when you're paddling. Ooh, this way. Top arm, slightly bent, elbow down. Okay? That's going to help you get into those lats a little bit more and get out of the shoulder a little bit more. And then things that you can do, and then also, again, a loose grip, but all 4 fingers around the shaft of your paddle. And so if that's something that's difficult for you, what I recommend is doing a warm-up to get those lats to fire before you get on the water. So I'm going to show you with a band. You can put it around a pole, a tree, or whatever you've got. I'm just going to wrap mine around this bike here. All right, so with a band, again, if I'm paddling, I want to slight bend in the elbow, elbow down. I want to pull, and I want to feel my lats working. And so I find that bands are really helpful for activating. And these are exercises that I will do. And you can do that like this way, and you can also, this is another way to test, and this is not how we're paddling on land, or it's not how we would be paddling, but on land, this is a way where you're just pulling straight into the side. Do you feel these muscles working here? Or if you're feeling that in your arm or your shoulder, you know, okay, I need to work a little bit more on engaging. And I find that when we're on dry land and we don't have our board underneath us, and we're not worrying about stabilizing, and we're not worried about moving forward or getting somewhere fast or training or what level we're at, right? We're just on land, and all we're thinking about, all we're focusing on is muscle activation. We can get a lot more targeted, focused work done that's going to benefit us. So I do a lot of work on land. Basically, the basis of my strength training program that I do on land is to teach my body and my muscles the proper mechanics and the proper firing patterns, right? Because that's really hard to do when you're on your board. Because, again, you're standing on an unstable platform, there's moving water, you're moving, there's all these other things happening, and it's a lot harder to dial in, like, okay, I want to feel this muscle activate, I want to feel that muscle activate, I want to hold my body in this position. So that's what I actually use training off the water to help support those things. So things like banded lat activations are going to help you with that as well. And then those banded reverse grip exercises, those I gave you as well, the rubber band around your fingers. So those are things, and then, but if you are experiencing pain, we're still talking about elbows. If you are, we've been talking about lats, but if you are experiencing pain in your elbow, things that you can do to help alleviate. So those are some things that you can do to, look in your stroke and make adjustments in your stroke and your technique and off of the water, what you can do. But if you are If you're experiencing pain, I would encourage you to rest first off. Rest and get yourself out of pain. And how you're going to get out of pain is you're going to reduce the inflammation that's causing the pain, right? So there's probably some chronic tightness going on in your forearm. So you want to rest and you don't want to go paddle when you're in pain, okay? And then you want to take some muscle rub. It was right here. Okay, I'm going to have to find my muscle rub. You're going to use some muscle rub and you're going to rub the forearm muscles and you're going to relax them and you're going to lengthen them and you're going to get them all moving again, right? And then you can take, you can take some anti-inflammatories, but I like to use plant anti-inflammatories. So things like turmeric, curcumin, boswellia, which is actually frankincense, phenyllanine. You can take these, you can take a lot of natural, and also eating a diet that's going to help reduce inflammation is going to help you as well. So things like reducing your amount of sugar and alcohol will help you to reduce inflammation as well. So if you're somebody who likes to take over-the-counter non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, of course, that will help as well. Oh, and CBD oil. I use CBD oil a lot, and that's actually what's in my muscle rub, and that helps to release and relax the inflammation as well and get you out of pain. So if you're in pain, you're going to release, relax, rub, rest, anti-inflammatory diets and or supplements and or over-the-counter. That's your jam. And get that inflammation out of there. And then when you feel you're ready to start looking at those technical things that you can make adjustments in to figure out, okay, how do I get myself out of that elbow pain? I hope that's helpful. I'm going to talk now about shoulders because I just talked about elbows for a while. If you still have questions about elbows, you can put it in the comments. And if any of that wasn't clear. So shoulders, and a lot of what I'm going to repeat, a lot of what I'm going to say is it's going to repeat itself because the most common injuries are actually usually caused by the most common technical adjustments. And again, it's a matter of no two bodies and no two people are the same, and nobody paddles exactly the same. And so you could be making the same mistake as someone else, but it could show up in your body in a totally different way. So shoulder pain is, I'm going to first off say it's not something, knock on wood, that I've experienced. I've experienced a lot of elbow pain. I have not experienced a lot of shoulder pain. However, the shoulders, and it's a difficult one because the shoulders are such a complex joint. There is so much happening. I mean, the shoulders is anything that's coming on in the front here. It's anything in the back, and basically it's also like your whole upper back is, your shoulder blades are almost coming together in behind you in your upper back. But mostly people might experience pain, like in like the rotator cuffs, right? So what's happening and what advice can I give if you're experiencing shoulder pain? And first thing I like to say with people with shoulder pain, paddlers with shoulder pain, is how tall is your paddle and what size is your blade, okay? Because if your paddle is too tall, you're going to tend to put, hold on one second, you guys. You're going to tend to put too much strain on your shoulder when you go to apply pressure down, and you want to try and feel this in your lat. And remember I said you want to have a slight bend in the elbow, and you want that elbow to draw down, you want to feel that lat. But if my paddle's too tall, and my shoulder, if my arm is up here instead of down here where my shoulder can be in that shoulder joint nice and snug, when my
hand and my arm is extending right out of my shoulder, and I have a slight bend in my elbow, and my elbow's drawing down, I feel my lat. If my arm or hand is above that shoulder, even if I'm bending the elbow and bending the arm and drawing the elbow down, I still feel that. I still feel that in my shoulder because it's extending up out of the joint. So, look at your paddle height and look at your arm when you're paddling. If it's up here, it's too tall. You want it to be right here. Okay, so that shoulder is right here, not up here. So that's one that I'll say for people who have shoulder pain is how tall is your paddle? Maybe it might be a little bit taller than optimal for your body and shoulder position while you're paddling. 2, what size is your blade and or how stiff is your shaft, right? So if your shaft is really stiff and there's not a lot of flexibility, this one's got a little bit of flexibility, not too much. But the stiffer the shaft, the more it's going to load on your joints. The more flexible the shaft, the easier it's going to feel on your joints. So you can look at your flexibility of your shaft, and you can look at your blade size. If you're experiencing pain, you might want to reduce your blade size, and you might want to reduce your first and foremost, look at your shoulder position, look at your elbow position, and engage your lats when you're paddling. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to relax all of this when you're paddling. First and foremost, look at that. Second of all, look at your paddle blade size and your stiffness of your shaft, because if that's not working and you feel like you're engaging things properly, I would encourage you to seek coaching advice, because sometimes what we think we're doing is not at all what we're doing, and you need someone to actually have eyes on you or get eyes on yourself so you can get a video analysis to look at things like that. So if you're curious about doing a video analysis or working one-on-one with a coach, I can help you. You can reach out at Seychelles Sup and I can help you with that. But then I would also encourage you to maybe, if you're using a really big blade or a really stiff shaft, that could be something that could help you as well, is giving yourself a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more ease with your blade size in terms of how that loads up your body. So shoulder pain, what's happening a lot of times is, I guess I still need my paddle to demonstrate. What's happening a lot of times is when we're paddling, we want to be applying a downward pressure on our paddle. And first of all, we need to have a downward movement because our paddle needs to drive down into the water, right? So there's a downward movement as our paddle drives down into the water. And then there's a downward pressure that we apply to kind of hold the paddle, kind of like grab the water and set the blade in the water. There's a downward pressure, right? And then, so what happens a lot of times is if we're not using our body weight and or to get the blade into the water, we're not using our body weight to get the blade into the water, and if we're not using our lats to apply that downward pressure, guess where that's coming from? This is going to cause repetitive stress on your shoulder, right? So the ways to get out of that, would be technique, looking at using your body weight to get your blade into the water and looking at using your lats rather than your shoulders. That simple arm adjustment that I gave you as well when you're paddling can help you get out of the shoulders and get into using those larger muscle groups. And I'm looking at the comments and the questions. Yeah, so Laura, let me know if that answered your question, if that was helpful for you about shoulders. And then Milan, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that properly, but I did just give a couple of technique stroke adjustments you can make. And if you're looking for more, again, I encourage you to reach out at Seychelles Sup. We can do a video analysis. I can link you to some drill videos that I have online where you can look at some drills where you can go a little bit more into detail about some of these things, and you're like, okay, she says use my,
use my body weight and use my lats and not my shoulders, but that doesn't make any sense. I have a lot of drill videos. If what I just did doesn't make sense, I can link you to some videos that maybe will make it more clear for you, about how to get out of the shoulders when you're paddling. And then this is, I'm going to go kind of segue right into, like, if it's upper back or trap pain, you know, like those trigger point pains that you can get in the upper back, you know, kind of like nestled in between the spine and the shoulder blades. And if you get those, like, sometimes they're like stabbing pains, or if you get tight neck, if you have pain, you know, going up the neck or anything like that. Again, everybody's different. However, most likely what's happening is when you are paddling and when you are applying that downward pressure, either if it's at the catch as you're driving the paddle into the water, or if it's, you know, after the catch. It's a mirror, and it's really confusing, you guys. So my left arm is my right arm is my left arm, and I keep getting confused. So it's either at the catch as your paddle's entering the water, or after the catch as you're setting your blade and you're applying downward pressure. If you're not using, what happens a lot of times, what's preferred in my opinion is to use your body weight at the catch and then to use your lats to hold that position. But what happens a lot of times is we drive the paddle down with our upper body, a lot of arms, and if those lats turn off, what happens if I'm driving my paddle down and I'm not using my lat, it could be in the shoulder, or it could be if I am having myself in, we get this a lot when we're paddlers, we get into this kind of like forward, like our thoracic spine kind of rolls forward, our chest gets really tight, and the shoulders roll forward, and you can feel that if you do this right now with me. If you kind of like hunch a little bit and then you let your shoulders roll forward, you feel that tension in the upper back, in between the upper back, right? So if you're driving down here, like in this position, where you're collapsing the chest and you're using the arms to push down, that's when you're going to start getting tension and over tightness in the traps. And that was a big issue that I had, is I had these big beautiful traps that I don't have anymore. I don't know if you guys remember. I used to be a lot more muscular in my upper body. But that wasn't serving me because I was overusing my upper body to drive the paddle down into the water, when really what can be more healthy and more in balance is using your whole body, using your body weight, and lowering your hips down, lowering your body down onto the paddle. So things that you can do if you have pain in your shoulders or in your upper back are very similar to things that I said that you could do if you have pain in your elbows. Which, first off, if you're in pain, please don't paddle. Please rest. Okay. Second off, it's a little bit harder to rub your own back, so maybe go get a massage if that's available to you. I know right now that's not really available. So what I do a lot of is, again, anti-inflammatories as well. I like to use plant-based anti-inflammatories, so herbals like turmeric, curcumin, boswellia, and CBD. And then you can use something like this. I have these toys that I use to basically give myself a massage. So this one's called the Peanut. You can buy a peanut, or you can take 2 tennis balls and put them in a sock, if you're classy like me, right? So this rolls up and down your spine, and that can help alleviate tension in the neck and in the traps. Here, yeah, here. Again, sorry guys, it's opposite. So if I turn left, it goes right, and it keeps confusing me. If you have some of those specific trigger points, this is like a soft ball. It's not it's softer than a lacrosse ball. You see, I can kind of depress it a little bit. So this is the one that I like to put into if I have some of those trigger points, or, you know, on one side of the neck, or going down the spine, or along the shoulder blades, or inside the shoulder, or underneath, anything to get all in here. These are really These are really helpful for relaxing and massaging those spots out. What you want to do is you want to get it into that spot and you want to relax. So it's not about like, I'm gonna get that spot out of there and I'm like aggressively like rolling out my back. That's not gonna do much for you, okay? So it's about getting this or this, or even, you know, your foam roller. I'm a huge fan of foam rolling, okay? You're gonna get it into that spot where it feels real juicy, and you're gonna relax. And you're gonna take like 5 or 10 really deep breaths, and you're gonna get I'm just laughing at you guys laughing at me. You're gonna take 5 or 10 deep breaths and you're gonna relax the muscles in the areas around there. Okay, so this is gonna apply pressure, and then you're gonna breathe, and you're gonna relax, and then you're gonna let those tight areas go. Okay, so that's the ways that you can help give yourself a massage to get some of those areas to release and relax. So just to recap, if you're in pain, please don't paddle. Get yourself some anti-inflammatories, rest, and herbal anti-inflammatories, and then give yourself some loving, some self-love, some self-massage, and using things like a hemp or a massage balm will really help you as well, because it's gonna, you know, sometimes rubbing yourself, it's like it hurts if you don't use something to soften and lubricate that. And what else can I tell you for shoulders? There's a lot of stretches actually for, you know, for shoulders, for forearms. The hard part is that, especially with shoulders, depending specifically what area of your shoulder is bothering you, you could do a stretch that's going to help it, but there could also be things that are not going to help. But in general, this is kind of what I was talking about with your paddling. You want to avoid shoulders position rolling forward, and you want to make sure that the shoulders, and this happens a lot as paddlers, because we're paddling and we're like, you know, we get into this position, right? So shoulders back, down, and wide apart. So I'll show you how that looks. If you're chronically tight in the front and the shoulders are rolling forward, this is going to cause pain in your back, in your upper back, and your traps in your neck. And you want to make sure that you are, then if this is the case, you want to be doing this kind of thing in the front and loosening this up, because this is what's actually tight. And the reason you're feeling pain in the back is because it's being pulled forward, right? So take a look at your shoulder position and back, down, but then not just back and down, like you probably heard, like squeeze a lemon ball between your shoulder blades. I'm not saying go back and down and stay there, but pull back and down, like, and rotate back and down, and then rotate and pull wide apart. So I'm going to show you this from here. I'm going to go back, I'm going to go down, and then I'm going to pull my shoulders wide apart. And so I'm going to show you with the arms up again. Do you see the spreading there across the front, and you can probably see it across the back too. So if I go back, down, and then wide apart. And then the other thing that's really helpful for neck, for upper back pain, is your neck. And so you want to keep, what happens a lot of times, and this is something for paddlers. Okay, when we're paddling, we are in this position, right? And then what happens when we need to look forward? We strain our neck, right? This is prone paddlers too. There's like a lot of this happening. So I don't know if you guys noticed last year, I was always a visor wearer, and then last year I didn't wear visors, I only wear headbands, and the reason was not just because I think headbands are really cool, because I do think headbands are really cool, but the reason was I had a neck injury, and so I really had to focus on not doing this with my neck, and so even just the cap of my visor, I wasn't able to see enough far forward and keep the back of my neck long. So what you guys want to do
what you guys want to do at all times, and this is not just for paddlers, this is especially for people who are doing this all day long, right? Now my neck is in this position, right? So this is bad, and this is what we do all dang day, right? Or we're looking down at the computer, whatever it is, right? We spend a lot of time with our neck not in optimal position. So I want to pull my neck, the back of the neck, long. And I do this when I'm paddling too. I want to try and keep the back of the neck really long. So I basically, if I look up and I pull my chin up, and do this with me right now. Put your chin up, and then take the back of the neck right from the base of the skull, right here, and pull up and pull the back of the neck long. And it's naturally going to pull the chin down. And you should feel some activation here a little bit. Not a strong activation, but yeah. So back of the neck pulls long. And I don't know if you guys can feel that when you pull the back of the neck long. It takes a little while to practice these things. I can feel it because I've been doing this I do this all day, every day. It's kind of like, when you heard you're supposed to pull your chin back, right? Do this one. So this is my way of teaching you how to do this in a little bit better way. So it's not just about jamming your chin back, right? It's about pulling the back of the neck long. So the difference is here as opposed to here, right? So if you've been somebody that they told, pull your head back because you're chronically like this, or you're chronically like this from paddling, this right here, that's going to help you a lot. And yes, I'm doing that. I'm trying to maintain that position when I'm paddling as well. And what that forces me to do when I'm paddling is, so instead of being in this position where everything's hunched forward and I have to look up, if I'm keeping the back of my neck long, but I need to look up, I'm going to have to pull my whole body forward. And that, when I did that, I didn't even think about it. My abdominals engaged to lift my chest up. And now my abs are engaged. And again, it's about all of our body is so connected and everything's working together to make these things happen. Right? So I'm trying to talk to you about your shoulders, but now I'm talking about the neck. But the neck is very important, and the shoulder position is very important to the lats, to the elbows, to the right, the finger bones connected to the whatever, hip bones connected to the, the song. Obviously, I don't. But yeah. So that's a really great exercise that you can practice. And I learned that technique about the keeping and pulling the back of the neck long from foundation training. So if you're someone with any sort of spine issues, especially my people who said low back, and that was Miguel and Milan, I'm going to talk about low back. Is that my next one? Yeah. I'm going to talk about low back right now. But for anything spine, anything shoulders, neck, back, foundation training is amazing for teaching you proper body movements and mechanics for your spine and healthy movement patterns. So they were one of the many things that really saved me and helped me recover from a really serious neck injury last year. So, and they've done wonders, and it was developed for low back injuries, but it works for the whole spine. So yeah, so low back. I feel like I'm jumping all over the place here, but I just really love this, passionate about this stuff. And so low back injuries can often occur when we are not moving in an optimal way. So I'll give you the example for paddling. If I'm paddling and actually, I want you to see my whole body. Yeah, okay. So if I am paddling and no, my paddle's too tall to do it inside. And I am dropping onto my paddle like this. And if this is what you look like when you're paddling, this right here, especially if you're one of those ones that's rounding and now you're in this position, this is a lot of strain on the low back. So any type of forward folding, this is compression in the low back. So it's actually, when you fold forward, you're actually, because there's a natural curve that's more like an arch in the low back, right? So this, I'm exaggerating, but there's a natural curve in the low back. So when you round in the low back, that's actually going against the natural curve of your spine. And so if you're doing that over and over and over and over again, repetitively when you're paddling, right, that's going to cause a lot of strain on the low back. So how do we fix that in our stroke? Like, it's simple, but it's not simple. All right. So first thing is you want to try and keep a neutral spine. So I want to, my neutral spine is, I'm going to show you my neutral spine. There's a slight orthotic curve, and then the thoracic has a slight curve that goes forward, right? So if I go like this, or like this, or like this, that's, anything like that is out of the neutral spine. So I want to try and maintain my neutral spine when I'm paddling. So how do I do that? I use my legs. And so for paddling, if I'm dropping down onto the paddle, I'm trying to not forward fold. I'm trying to bend my legs and go down, right? So my spine is staying neutral. Yeah? This is an oversimplification of what it looks like. If you want to go into more detail about, because a hip hinge is going to keep your spine in a neutral position as well, right? Where my hips go back and my knees bend and I lower down. However, a hip hinge when we're paddling is going to send our butt back, which is not optimal for your stroke. What you actually want to do is send everything forward. So I can't really get into the details of that just right now, but keeping your chest up, and I made a video on the APP World Tour about this that went out last week, keeping your chest up, so not here, but here, using your legs to lower down onto your paddle. Also going to save your shoulders, because remember I talked about, and your neck and your upper back, because now you're not driving down with your arms, you're driving down with your whole body, and this all stayed really relaxed, right? So upper body can stay relaxed and just hold the paddle and do what it's supposed to do and not have to work really hard. And you can ask your legs, which are designed to carry you and designed to do the hard work, to do that hard work when you're paddling. So, so that's number one. How do I get out of my low back when I'm paddling? Is trying to maintain a neutral spine. Am I somebody who has, who tends to stick the butt out? Am I somebody who tends to curl under, right? Looking at those things, and then looking at your spine position and keeping your chest up when you're paddling. And so what else was I going to say about that? If you're in pain, especially if it's anything spinal and you're experiencing any sharp shooting pains, numbness, or tingling going down any of the arms or legs, you definitely want to go. You definitely don't want to go paddling. Okay, you want to rest and you want to address some of these, some of what's happening, because you shouldn't be experiencing at any time numbness, tingling, or shooting pains going down the joints. That means something's really wrong. And you want to address that, and before your next paddle, and you want to rest, and you want to try and figure out, okay, what movement pattern am I doing incorrectly here? And it could be when you're paddling, but it could also be in your everyday life, how you're sitting at your desk, at your computer, how you're sleeping. So not to try and make it really complex for you all,
However, the human body is really complex, and injuries are really unique to each individual. And however, there are certain body mechanic rules that are universal. And again, things like keeping a neutral spine, keeping your chest up, keeping that shoulder position, keeping the shoulders not rolling forward, keeping the back of the neck long, right? And we didn't really talk about legs. Oh, I wanted to talk about feet, but hold on, I'm not done with the low back. Same things apply with low back, right? If you're in pain, please don't go paddle. Please try and, eat an anti-inflammatory diet or herbal anti-inflammatories. Get yourself some stretches that you could do for low back. I can give you some easy stretches for low back. So you're going to lie on your back. So your spine is supported, and if I'm just lying here, there's a natural gap underneath my back, right? So I'm going to take my feet wide apart. And this is a really good stretch for anyone who has sciatic pain. This is a really great stretch to do for someone with sciatic pain. Put your knees together. So feet are wide, like wider than your shoulders, and your knees are together. And then you're going to take your pelvis and you're going to tilt it all the way forward and then tilt it all the way back. So when I tilt it all the way back, now there's no longer a gap underneath my back. And then I tilt it forward and now there's a pretty big gap. I can get my arm all the way through. Right? So I'm tilting my pelvis back and forth, and you should feel a gentle stretch in your low back. And what we're actually trying to get is this posterior tilt here where you have that arch. Again, a lot of low back pain is caused by that compression and that rounding of the spine and that forward folding. So when we arch the back, that should be stretching and loosening that out. And this way, down on the ground, supported, is a really safe, healthy way to do that if you're in pain. And then the other thing you can do in this same position is just with the knees wide, with the feet wide, just gently and slowly bring the knees from side to side. And that's going to help loosen up the low back as well. So this is a way to do a spinal twist that's a really gentle twist. And I'm not going to hold this position. I'm not going to hold any of these positions and just like hang out passively. So these aren't passive stretches. These are these are dynamic stretches. So those two are really great for low back for those people that were asking about low back. And the same thing applies with the foam roller, with the peanut you can use on your low back. And I wouldn't use these small balls that I was talking about in the low back, but I do have different size balls, like a little bit larger. I even have one that's a little bit larger than this. And these are great because, again, if you could go get a massage right now, that would be awesome. I would say massages are a great self-care routine to help keep your body, when you're training really hard, to help keep things moving, relaxing, easing up tight areas, and keeping things functioning optimally. However, right now, massages, most places are not open. So you can do a lot with a foam roller, with balls, with soft balls, even with like a stability ball, whatever you have to help. And again, you're not going to be like lying on these things and like really aggressively doing anything. This is about relaxing, it's about breathing, and it's about letting go of that tension. That makes sense. So the last thing I want to talk about, because oh my gosh, it's already been an hour. And I have a phone call in 3 minutes. Okay, so I have to talk really fast. So if you have any questions, get them in now. So last thing, there's the feet. The feet. I hear about people have feet pain all the time. So with feet pain, what's happening, most likely, again, everybody's different. Most likely what's happening with foot pain is you are gripping the board with your feet because you're terrified of falling in. So, first thing to do is to just jump in. No, you want to relax your feet. When people say I'm getting foot pain, I'm getting foot cramps, or I'm getting tingling, I'm getting numbness in my feet, what's happening? You're gripping and you're using so much energy that you don't need to be using. So and sometimes this is like people don't really like I'm not gripping, but then you start thinking about it and you have that go. And next time you're paddling, if you're somebody who experiences foot cramping and tingling, think about it next time. Oh, what are my feet doing? Can I lift and wiggle my toes right now? If you can't lift and wiggle your toes, it's probably because you're gripping. If you can't kind of rock back and forth on your feet when you're paddling, you're probably gripping. If you're scared that you're going to fall in the water, you're probably gripping with your feet. So if you can't relax your feet when you're paddling, your board might be a little too, or the conditions that day might be a little too advanced. And so getting yourself on a board where you feel stable is going to help alleviate pain in your feet and cramping in your feet. And sometimes just realizing, oh, hey, like we don't even realize that we are gripping, that we're using all that energy that we don't need to be using going down to our feet and causing all that tension. So if it's tingling and numbness, I would say, check out that low back curve. Make sure you're keeping a neutral spine, and then make sure that you have a slight bend in your knees and your ankles, and none of your joints are locked out, right? We don't want any of our joints locked out. We want to stay loose and relaxed in the legs. We want the legs and the body to be moving, to be mobile, to be absorbing the movement of the board and the water underneath us. And our feet, we should be able to move our feet on our board. Maybe not, walking all the way to the back of your board and doing like a Connor Baxter turn, but you should be able to lift up your feet on your board. Not all the way up, but rocking back and forth, lifting your toes, maybe just shuffling them back and forth. Because, and then if you are experiencing pain in your feet, a really great thing to do that helps a lot is you just go down on your knees and you sit on your feet. And I'll show you the 2 ways that you can do that. So if you're paddling and you're experiencing foot pain, you just can sit down. And one thing to really do is to put the tops of the feet down, and that's going to stretch in the front here, which can tend to get kind of tight if we're really getting our body weight forward and paddling aggressively. We're over tightening here, right? So if I can extend my ankle instead of flex it, and if possible sit back, this is a really nice stretch for the feet, and that can kind of, if you just do this every time you're in pain for a couple of seconds, that can help you. The other thing is you can curl the toes under and sit back down, and that's stretching the arches, right? So those are 2 different ones, sitting on with your toes curled under, sitting on your heels, and with your feet flat, sitting on your heels. That will help you, but the main thing is to learn to relax. And if that's not working for you, then, just that day, maybe you needed a more stable board. So I would do those 2 stretches I just showed you for your feet and your ankles. Do those on land as well. I do those every day, especially the one where I'm sitting on my foot with an extended, because when I'm paddling, my ankles flexed a lot. So when I get off the water, I always extend it and stretch the top of my foot to help counteract that. And guys, I gotta go. I'm supposed to be on a phone call right now. But thank you so much for tuning in. This was really fun. I will go back and answer all of the questions and comments. So if you have any more, you can put them at the bottom of the video. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And be safe, be happy, be healthy, stay positive, and everything's going to be okay. I know the world's really crazy right now, but just go out on the water and paddle if you can, because everything feels better when we paddle. Okay. Lots of love. Bye.